How can a man give you just 100,000 naira for feeding? Rukewe yelled as Itowan looked at her, clearly surprised by her friend's outburst. We don't have children yet, so 100,000 naira is more than enough. Who told you it is enough, eh? Open your eyes, Itowan. That's not my business, sha, Rukewe said. My husband Charles sends me 1,000,000 naira just for groceries every month. You know he stays abroad. 1,000,000 naira. Itowan asked, dumbfounded. But you're the only one. Exactly my point, Rukewe continued. Your husband doesn't rate you at all. That night, as Itowan served her husband meal, she couldn't help but bring up her thoughts. Honey, she began, I don't think 100,000 naira is enough anymore for groceries. It isn't, her husband Stanley asked. Yes, so everything has gotten so expensive. I had to borrow some money from my friend Rukewe to complete my list. I am sorry you had to experience that, Stanley said. But next time, call me instead of borrowing money. As he said this, he held her hands. Thank you for always being patient with me. The next day, Rukewe called Itowan, asking her to come along for his party. Itowan explained how she had a budget and could not afford his party, but Rukewe was not one to take no. She insisted Itowan came, offering to pay for the both of them. As ladies enjoyed the lavish pampering, Itowan could not help but wish her husband was as rich as Rukewe's. Rukewe seemed to always glow, while Itowan had to manage. She felt like life was unfair. Let's get new wigs, Rukewe screamed. Just as Itowan was about to dispute, she continued, bills on me, no fear. Your husband's salary can't cover the expenses. Later that day, as Stanley walked into his bedroom, he saw Itowan laying under the covers, already in her nightgown. Alarmed, he rushed over to her. What is wrong? He asked. Everything is wrong, Itowan retorted. Have I offended you, Stanley? What are you doing while real men are working to give their wives a queen lifestyle? I do my best, he said softly, not understanding what had triggered such from his gentle wife. He moved to sit beside her. As he kept his tone calm, I will work harder, Itowan. I know you deserve better. And I want to give you the best. Itowan didn't say anything to Stanley. She stood up and walked off, leaving him alone, dumbfounded. The next day, being Saturday, Stanley thought to surprise his wife. She had not been acting like herself lately, and he wanted to put a smile on her face. He made her scrambled eggs, the way she liked, and not forgetting to make her French toast just right. As he opened the cabinet to make tea, he realized they were out of the green tea Itowan preferred. She wouldn't be too pleased, he thought, as he took his car keys, hurrying off to buy the tea. On his way back, his car broke down, but not even a broken down car would stop him. He arrived home sweating but relieved his wife didn't seem to have woken up. He placed everything in a tray, heading upstairs, only to be met with an empty bedroom. Itowan was nowhere to be found. Setting the tray aside, he called her number. Where are you? He asked. Rukewe called, she replied, asking that we go out for breakfast. I'll be back for lunch. With that, she hung up. After that day, things were never the same. Stanley avoided being called out by Itowan, and Itowan was rarely ever happy around him. Why don't you leave him? Rukewe asked one day, as the two women sat drinking wine in Itowan's home. Leave him, care. We don't do that in my tribe. Will your tribe take care of you? Rukewe asked. Come on. A beautiful woman like you can do better. See, remember that my friend I told you about, that recently married that rich man. She was once married like you, but left him to do better. You don't say, Itowan asked. The seed had already been planted. Soon, Itowan asked Stanley for a divorce, leaving him to stay in a rented apartment. Girl, you will soon catch a big fish, Rukewe cheered. But Itowan didn't seem to attract any rich man, and Rukewe wasn't taking her calls anymore. She suddenly realized she had never known Rukewe's house, as they always met at hers or outside. It's better I return to Stanley, Itowan said to herself one day. My house rent is due, and Rukewe is nowhere to be found. As Itowan gathered courage and arrived at her former home, her heart began to race as she knocked on the door. She heard a familiar woman's voice before the door was opened. On the other side was a heavily pregnant rukewe. "What are you doing in my home?" Itowan screamed. "Your home call, your house ni," rukewe said. "My husband is not at home, please leave." Rukewe continued with a smirk. "What do you mean by your husband?" Itowan said as tears fell freely. "Isn't Charles your husband, or has my husband moved out for you and your husband to move in?" Rukewe laughed. "Charles, my ex-husband, and I have been separated for years before I met you. I saw how loving your husband was to you and decided I had to have him. I'm willing to have children, unlike you, who have decided to go on family planning despite your husband's wishes." "Ah, Rukewe, but you told me bringing children into the world with our finances would be bad." "Exactly," Rukewe laughed. "Your finances as per you have no money. Didn't you come back because the rent I paid for expired? I have my own money. Stanley, my sweet husband, just needs to continue being sweet. Now leave," Rukewe yelled. "You are disturbing a pregnant woman's nap." As she said this, she closed the door on Itowan's face. Itowan, now homeless and without a husband, had no choice but to move back to the village to live in her late parents' home.